Welcome to RAM Standard Tutorials. In this video tutorial, we are going to discuss how to work with the start activity for result. So, in the concept of intents and that to explicit intent, we discussed how to navigate from one activity to another activity using intent class. There, to start another activity, we are using start activity method. So instead of that, we can use the start activity for result method. So what is the difference between start activity method and start activity for result method in a sense? Start activity method just it's going to start another activity. That's it. But start activity for result, it is expecting something. That's why you see the name start activity for result. That means whenever we are calling other activity, so from that activity again we are expecting the result back to called activity. So just you go to my blog and type here start activity for result. Right, here you will see it's a video tutorial second one. So here I mentioned clearly starting another activity does not have to be one way. You can also start another activity and receive result back from that activity. Okay. To receive a result, we are going to use start activity for result method instead of start activity method. So simple already we know we are going to call the start activity method and passing the intent object. So instead of that, if you are using start activity for result, we need to pass the intent object and the request code. Why? Because you may call so many activities from one activity, so that so many activity for result methods also you can use. So but to read the result, we are going to use one method. So in that method, to have a clear clarification from which activity we are receiving the result, so for that purpose we are using the request code now. Simple, very simple. You'll see the example for this syntax, creating intent object. So in this case, we are launching the target activity and we are executing this using start activity for result. So that again, which activity is calling this target activity, again that is expecting some result back from this target activity. And to read the result, why? Because suppose there is a activity 1 and activity 2. Activity 1 is starting activity 2 and activity 2 is returning the result to the activity 1. So that activity 1 should be designed to read the result. So whenever you are using the start activity for result method, so there again we are going to override the method called on activity for this on activity result method from the activity class. So what are the request code here we are passing? That request code here we are going to get, and the result code is going to return by the which activity is returning the result. Again that activity is going to return the result code, and the result is written in the form of intent object. So in the concept of passing data from one activity to another activity using intent, there we understood how to store the data in the intent and how to get the data from the intent. Now again in this example also we will understand that one. So we strictly we should use this request code and result code to avoid the exceptions. Why? Because if that called activity, that means whatever the activity we are calling for the result, if that activity is not returning the result, then here we are going to have an exception. So I will show you what kind of exceptions it will give you. So here I kept the example. Suppose in this situation you'll see I have taken one activity. In that I have taken one button, choose name and choose phone number. So whenever you click the choose name button, it's going to launch another activity. Here we are displaying five mobile platform names. So here if you are selecting one, suppose I selected Android. So you'll see in the next screen that Android is coming to this activity. In the see first we have a choose name button. That button name I'm changing to Android. That means whatever the result it is returning, that name we are binding here. In the same way, choose phone number. If you click, it's going to open this activity. If you select the phone number, automatically which number you have selected, that number is returning to this activity. That number we are binding to the button now. And here you will get the code. So let us see the example. I have created the project called start activity for result. Now we have a one activity. So we are going to have one more activity to discuss this example. And one more thing I want to tell you, right, in your applications you have the situations like this. In the real time we are going to have the situations like this to get the results from other activities. Again, you can open, suppose, let us take the example, from your application you are going to open the camera application. Which purpose? Just you want to capture one image, and that image you want to store in your application. For that concept, you need not to write a program for entire camera API. So simple, every mobile is having inbuilt in camera application, so that from our application we are going to launch the camera application using StartActivityForResult, so that again our application is expecting some result back from the camera. So if camera application has been called by the our applications using StartActivityForResult, whenever you take the shot, and immediately it will ask you okay or cancel. If you say okay, automatically that image is going to return to our application, and here we are reading using on activity result method, and we are using it in our application. So like that, you are going to open the gallery application using start activity for result to pick one image. Contacts application we are opening to pick one contact to our application. So in that way you can use this start activity for result. So it's very important concept. So already I'm having one activity. So in this activity user interface, what I'm doing, I'm going to create one button. Yes. And this button ID I'm taking as I choose, suppose, account number. Enter. And right, my Mac is going to take some more time. No problem, soon I'm going to insert more memory. Right, and here we are going to give the text choose for account number. Right, choose account number, save it. And what we are going to do is we are going to create one more activity. Why? Because that activity is going to, whenever you click this choose account number button, it's going to open another activity. That activity is going to return the result back to this activity. So what I'm doing, I'm going to create a new activity. So right click on this package, new activity, as a just blank activity, and the name I'm giving is choose account number activity, finish. And this activity is created. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to take the radio group. So here radio group is available. Where it is? Where? Come on. Radio button. Fine. I need to write the radio group, right? Right, here we have a radio group. So I have taken the radio group. So no radio buttons were there in this radio group. So what I'm doing is inside that we are going to drag and drop the radio buttons. Why? Because then only you are going to have a concept of out of many radio buttons selecting one radio button. Two, one more, and one more. And what I'm doing for this radio group, I'm giving the ID. And ID is, I'm saying that at the date plus ID, right, radio group underscore account numbers. Save it now. And for this text, I'm giving 1 2 3 4 5, and this one 1 2 3 4 6, and this one 1 2 3 4 7. One, 2, 3, 4, 8. And so here we have these many numbers. You can leave like this or just okay, fine, it's okay. So save it. Now we'll write a business logic for this. So we are coming to first of all main activity, and these methods are useless for us now. Just we are deleting. Now what we are doing is we are going to write an action for the first of all button. So button choose account number button. Choose account number button. What happened? Right. choose account number button, right? This is a 0, right? Fine. Choose account number button equal to, first of all we need to call the reference, right? So button and find you by id r dot id dot button underscore choose account number. Now we need to write an event handling for this, so we are going to use the on click listen interface to listen action for the button. So we got a on click method. So whenever you click this button, we want to launch this choose account number activity, so that we are going to create a intent class object, and in this we are going to mention which activity we are going to call now. So here first of all we are going to use, we need to pass the get application context, and the second one we need to pass which activity you want to open. So we want to open choose account number activity, and here we are going to use the method called StartActivityForResult. The first parameter you need to pass intent object, so intent object we are passing. Second one is request code, so I'm going to mention request code, and I'm going to create a request code. We need to pass the integer number, request code equal to 1. Why? Because so you may launch so many activities, so those activities are going to return the result. So to separate the results, which activity is returning the result, so for that purpose we are going to use these request codes and result codes. So it's going to launch the now it's going to launch the choose account number activity whenever we are executing start activity for result. So we'll come to the choose account number activity, and we need to write a program for the radio group. In that radio group, which number we are selecting, that number we need to get first of all. So for that I am writing an action for the radio button programming, radio group equal to radio group, and we need to call its id using find you by id method, and radio group account numbers. And to listen action for the radio group, we are going to use on checked change listener interface, so that set on checked change listener, and we are going to implement it in the way of anonymous sender type. Now we know that in this radio group, any radio button, that means in this radio group, if you click any radio button, this method is going to execute, so that with the help of this radio group we can exactly accessing which radio button was selected, so that radio button ID it is going to return. So whenever you are selecting the radio button in this particular radio group, that radio button ID it's going to return as this integer argument. So now simple, we can call the reference of only selected radio button. So radio button equal to here radio button, and find you by id we need to pass here checked id. Why? Because which radio button we selected, that only we will access it. Now from that radio button we are going to get the account number, string account number equal to radio button dot which text is there in that radio button, we are calling it. Now we need to design this activity to return the result to the main activity. Why? Because main activity only call this choose account number activity. So here we need to write an action that choose the account number activity is going to return the result to the main activity. Here the result is selected account number. So how we need to return? First of all, we need to create a intent object. So we are returning the result in the form of intent. Why? Because in the intent we are storing the data, and that intent is going to send to the main activity. And we know already how to store the data in the intent. We want to store the string value, so that name we are giving first of all account number, and the value should be account number, the result of this activity. Now after that we need to set this result. Why? Because using set result method only we are mentioning that this result we are sending to the main activity. So we need to call the method set result, and here we need to give the result code. So predefined constants are available for the to return the result, so we are going to use the result code, and we need to pass the intent object here. And once user selected the radio button, this programming is executing, creating intent object and storing the data and returning the result back to the main activity. So finally I'm going to call the finish method. So finish method is going to finish current activity. Now save. Now we'll come to the main activity. Now what is happening? Choose account number activity is sending the result to the main activity. So again, here we need to write a program to read that result. So for that we are going to use the method on activity result method now. So whatever the request code here we have given, that will come here, and the result code that choose account number activity is returning, that means result okay, that will come to here, and the data whatever we are returning, that is intent object, that will come to here now. That means you call number of start activity for results methods in this activity, but to read the result only on activity result method will execute. So that's why we are going to make sure to avoid the exception. So that first of all, request code, which result you are reading, we are reading this result, so we are going to use this request code. So request code and operator and result code equal to, we have written the result code is what now, result underscore okay, so we need to mention that, and this intent object data not equal to null. If these three conditions are satisfying, then only successfully the result came here and we are going to read. Or otherwise, if suppose user clicks the back button here without selecting any radio button, but main activity method on activity result is going to execute, it is reading the data from the intent, but null value is coming, so you are going to get the null pointer exception. The choose account number activity is failed to deliver the result back to the main activity. So that kind of things are going to happen. So that string account number equal to this intent data, this intent object only is carrying the result. So data dot, there we have stored the value, string value. So get string extra, the key what we have given here, just pass that one and paste it here. And that one only we are setting finally to the button. That button is choose account number button dot set text of account number. Save it, and here the programming is completed, and let us check the output. Hope we are getting correct output. Execute it, and okay, fine, we'll see. Okay, we are selecting emulator, and I'll check the output. Now I'll see, this is the main activity, so I'm going to select choose account number activity. It's open choose account number activity, and I'm going to select this account number. After selecting, you'll see immediately it was returned the result to the main activity, and that result we are binding into this button. See 1 2 3 4 5 and 1 2 3 4 8, and you'll see if you're thinking from user's perspective, user may not select this option, so he is going to select the back button. Now see, here we are not having any kind of exception. Why? Because obviously on activity result method is going to execute, and it is going to check the if condition request code equal to request code, fine, we used that one only, but result code equal to result okay, that is not going to return. Why? Because we did not selected anything there, so it's not going to return result okay. So here itself it is failed, so if condition is not going to execute, simply we are not going to have any kind of exception. Suppose if you delete this if condition, and you will see what is going to happen. Now choose account number activity. If you select the account number, fine, we are going to get that output. But if you are not selecting anything here and you click the back button, there is an exception. Why? Because main activity method, this main activity is expecting the result, but choose account number activity is failed to deliver the result. And here we have an error. Let us check it out. What kind of error it is saying that? You will see runtime exception, failure delivering result information, request code 1 as it is we have given, but result code it is written 0. So in the result code, the result okay is going to return another value, so and data is null. So we are going to have an exception, null pointer exception. Why? Because clearly this method is going to execute. Okay, where it is? This is the problem here. Okay, project. Oh God, it's killing my time. Even I'm unable to do this. Come on. Okay, fine. Main activity. I'm unable to minimize. You'll see the cursor is not coming. This is the problem with the Android Studio. Where is minimize options? Minimize options. Minimize options. Minimize options. Okay, fine. Structure, view, navigation bar, toolbars, window. Okay, fine. Anyway, already I think you have seen this, so I'm unable to minimize this. Oh, you got. Okay, fine. So just if you delete that if condition, you will see we got an exception. So, and if you keep the if condition, we are not going to have an exception. So I think you clearly understand what's happening whenever you are using the start activity for result and what kind of exceptions we may get and what is the solution for this. So if you like my channel, that means if you like my videos, you can subscribe my channel by clicking subscribe button below, and you can obviously use my blog called ramstandardforall.blogspot.in. Here you'll find a lot of concepts and code. Thanks for watching. We will meet in the next video today.